Hey everybody, Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. Thank you for joining us here on this Monday evening. Here to bring you an hour of Illinois sports talk. I'm your host, Jamal Collier, joined by my colleagues Elliot Sill, Torrance Sorrell, and Joey Gilman. Back together again. This combination only happens every couple of weeks with Joey in the rotating role here. We're always glad to see what Joey Gilman's going to pull out of his hat, his sleeves.
He usually doesn't wear hats.
Yeah, he doesn't wear hats, but he can pull it out of his sleeves when he didn't wear sleeves. You know, Joey Gilman can just...
I'm that skilled, so
yeah.
just look out.
Okay. Something like that. Follow the show on the Twitter, at Illini Drive. You can catch us every Monday here at 6. If you miss that, you can catch us online at dailyillini.com. You can catch us now on UPTV Wednesday night, every Wednesday at 9. And thanks to the good folks at UPTV that get us on television. If you're into that, you want to watch these mugs on television, we got you. We got you at all angles here. We're one from the Illini Drive here. Big show to get to today. We got some stuff to talk about in college basketball and around the sporting world as well. But the big thing, I guess, to get to today is with the Illinois basketball team. And it's been a while since they've played. It seems a really weird part of the season when you got one game to play last Wednesday and they're off again until next Wednesday. It's almost like a bye week's not the right term to use, but just a real part of dead week.
Yeah, earlier in the season they had some weeks like this where I think they played like Thursday on the 21st of November. You know, but since then it's been pretty much 2-3 games a week, and now it's kind of cooling off a little bit, so that's strange.
And of course you get the cool off once Illinois comes out and gets a victory, you know, and then they can't build any momentum off that victory because you got to wait around for a week. Nevertheless, Illinois last week on Wednesday night at Minnesota, come away with the victory, and guess what? All 4 of us on the show last week picked that game wrong. I don't pick many games wrong, Natalie. Let me tell you, I don't. You know, but I mention my mistakes once or twice when I do them. It don't happen very often, so that's why I admit to them.
Did you give this speech last week because you were wrong about
something? I was just thinking that. Like, you just said that.
There we go. Yeah. Illinois came out and won. Big night by Kendrick Nunn, 19 points that led all scorers, tied a career high. And then the news comes out this morning. He was named the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. And this is what Elliot, the first time. It's a little applause for Mr. Kendrick Nunn. First time that anyone has won that award here. That surprised. The award's only been there since 2010, so it's about 3 years old. But that surprised me. I don't know. Did it surprise anybody else?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you'd think just the amount of weeks that there are in the season, some Illinois freshmen would step up. But I mean,
who would it have been? I guess even. Did Brandon Paul play 4 years?
Yeah, they both did. But I think 2009 was their freshman year when DJ won Big Ten Freshman of the Year. He couldn't have done that without being the best at least 1 week.
So he would have won it. Okay, that's right. Okay, but other than that, I mean, what freshmen have really played a lot recently?
Yeah, I mean, Tracy Abrams probably played the most.
Sure.
Nana was backing up Myers Leonard, so he wouldn't have really gotten exposure. Myers Leonard he was
bad. I mean, he was bad sophomore year, but he was bad his freshman year before he got drafted. So
that's true.
Yeah, but just an odd occurrence there. The game against Minnesota, obviously, Kendrick Nunn was just a big part of that, though.
Yeah, it was just good to see him have another good game. He had 19 against the Penn State game, and seems like he played real good when he plays road games. Just pretty much play real fired up, and just glad to see him win an award because that was one of the players I was definitely having a lookout for during the beginning of the season.
You're seeing him get consistent minutes, and that was a big thing earlier in the year where he really wasn't getting that much consistent playing time, and so you were really seeing sporadic performances from him and along with guys like Malcolm Hill as well. So it's just nice to see him get consistent points, just really getting his confidence up because as a freshman, and there's a lot of young guys on this team moving forward, especially with this program, the way Gross is kind of building it up. So it's a good stepping stone for him to get a couple games in a row here to really boost his confidence and get some points in the stat sheet.
I had to do a fun little mic switch there with Joey, which I used to.
Yeah, sorry about that. We were ducking and dodging.
You know, I would say, man, it's a really good thing this is not a television show because some of the things that go on. And now everybody's going to see everything that goes on here, the real side of it. Yeah, exactly. I almost clothesline Joey.
He did it on purpose.
I think it's good for Kendrick Nunn to get his confidence up. I don't really see this as a huge, breakout game performance. I mean, if you break down his numbers, first of all, he had 0 rebounds and 1 assist, 1 steal, 0 blocks. So it's not an all-around thing yet. But right now, what Illinois needs is scoring, and him providing that is huge. He does it. He got 5 threes, which is nice, but that's two buckets that weren't 3-pointers. So is this a case of him just getting hot, or is he actually stepping up and taking his game to a next level? We'll have to see.
He also, I want to say, scored, was it 10 of the last 13 points? I think or 10 of the 13 points in like an 8-minute stretch. That really went Illinois getting to pull it away. I'm going to pull it up here. He's averaging 10 of the last 14, it was. When Illinois pulled away, and he's also averaging 13 points a game since he's gotten the lineup. And that number's a little skewed because he had the 2 19-point games, but he's also had some games where he hasn't scored that much too. So, but overall, he is providing a spark here that's really making him something I think the fans are kind of excited about. To really, he seems like the guy we can look and say, okay, it'll be okay next year.
For sure. And I think one of the the lost facts of this game is Illinois won a game where Rayvonte Rice scored 6 points. I don't think that's possible if you're trotting out a starting lineup with Joe Bertrand and John Eakey.
You could have took some of my money if you would have told me Ray Rice scored 6 points, period. And will they win a game in the Big Ten?
No.
Not a shot.
Not really.
Yeah. And then we're giving a lot of credit to Nunn, and well-deserved, but also Nana Egwu was really big in this game.
Yeah, it was that was another player I was thinking about too, because in the beginning of the year I wasn't really impressed with how he was playing, but one number that really stuck out to me was, I know we talk so much about at least scoring, just their offensive droughts, but the rebounding, he has been stepping up a lot in that category, and that's definitely something you want to see more in that team, because I know Illinois is one of the bottom feeder teams when it comes to rebound in the conference.
Yeah, it was a theme of inconsistency for Egwu and Abrams kind of in the beginning of the year and a little bit throughout, and so it's nice to see in these last few games here Egwu can kind of get a rapport going, especially with guys when he's playing with a Malcolm Hill or a Kendrick Nunn that will be big factors next year, to kind of get that rapport together between those players and to put up numbers, whether they're wins or losses. In this case, it was a win. It's a good thing to see if you're looking to the future of the program.
3 straight games of double-digit rebounds for Egwu. And, this guy got a lot of heat from a lot of people when he was, I think he went to 2 games. Was it 2 or 3? I can't remember. He had a couple games scoreless streak. And he gets a lot of heat for not being physical, getting into that basket and kind of flying away from it and taking jump shots. Good to see him play well these last couple games. Can he sustain it is the question.
A week off helps in terms of sustaining it game to game, but, who knows what it's going to be like in like a Big Ten tournament setting where, they're probably one and done in the Big Ten tournament. But theoretically, if you have a big performance, can you go and do it the next day and then the next day? I think that's a huge question for him. But it's good to see him not only getting rebounds, but getting offensive rebounds. 4 offensive rebounds, that's big. Those are second chance points. And, those are directly getting you possessions. You have the 4 blocks, but maybe 3 of those go out of bounds and they get points off them anyways. But, offensive rebounds are always a critical stat. And if you can win that, you're in good shape for the game. Having said that, Illinois was actually out-rebounded on the offensive glass pretty heavily. But it's good for him to, be getting them.
One of the things that grosses kind of credit to Egwu's emergence is actually the fact that he's not playing Egwu. Egwu was out there essentially, if you're not getting in foul trouble, the whole game because Maverick Morgan was not ready early. Now Egwu's kind of been around 30 or 30.
34.
Yeah, well, this last game, Gross said we was playing so well, I just stuck with him at the end. But he's been able to play Maverick Morgan more. He's went small a lot more. Iggy's been at the 5, and he put Hill, and those guys out there a couple of times too. So he's been able to spell Egwu a little bit and keep him fresh, which is a good thing. I always like the smaller lineup. It's tough when he's not in there because then they have nothing inside essentially. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting to see. I guess what can happen when you just get a guy a couple minutes to breathe.
Especially when a young team too, you want to see those guys run a lot. That's something we seen a lot last year during Gross when his earlier years coaching here, when like Brandon Paul, those guys used to run the court a lot. He played a lot of transition last year, and then this year, you see a little bit of that too. But for freshmen, you definitely just want to see those guys run and go up and down the court and get easy buckets from that.
Yeah, you like those small guys sometimes in the small lineup to kind of run and gun down the court, and so if you can be successful, and that was I think Illinois tries to do, and Gross emphasized, is you can spell a guy like Egwu, but Jamal's absolutely right that when Egwu's out of there, no matter the situation, you're down a big body that can get you some rebounds in the end there.
Week off, obviously, like I kind of alluded to it there, may kill some momentum if you had a chance to build it, but you did get a win. It has been a while. You've got the freshman of the week coming back up this Monday, and the good things about Egwu. Do we feel good right now, kind of about Illinois? Obviously, as a season of a whole, we look at it's not great, but right now I feel like
Yeah, I mean, let's not lose our heads here.
Exactly. It's only one game.
Last week we were talking about, what would be a good way to finish the season, and what we said is you can't keep losing. You got to get some wins, but at the same time, that it's on the large scale not a successful year. So one win, we're not, feeling good.
No,
we're feeling better.
Sure.
Than when Illinois was losing 10 out of 11 games. So I think it really comes down to this game against Nebraska. I think if you get a win there, that's when you can start to say, okay, we put a couple together, for the first time since the start of Big Ten play. So, I mean, that's really what Illinois has got to be looking for. And another thing, I think it's hard to carry momentum over from the road. You win a road game, you're not really, the Orange Crush isn't there, you're not really in your own building. I think it's easier to build momentum when you're putting wins together at home and sort of getting the crowd and getting the community involved in it. And you look perplexed.
I'm going to disagree with that. Because you know what? They win a big road game, and Minnesota's not a big road game. They're kind of a middle-of-the-pack team. But you win a road game, and now people will have seen you. They watched the game at home. They won. And now we want to come to the building for them to win. Obviously, when you win at home in front of everyone, it obviously seems like it's big because everyone's cheering, going crazy. But you win that, and now I think the ticket sales for Nebraska go up. I mean, not drastically at this point in the season, but you see what I'm going at?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's nice to welcome the troops back, or
right.
However you want to put it. But Illinois hasn't won a home game since January 4th.
First time in 40 years they have lost this many home games in a row. It's 5 now, I believe.
Yeah, Assembly Hall used to be, back when it was Assembly Hall, used to be a house of horrors for opposing teams. Illinois and Wisconsin both had stretches of, it was like where they had lost one game over the last. I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, but
let's talk about that with you guys as far as momentum. Is it easier to build it on the road or at home? Kind of what Ellie was alluding at. Which side are you on in that equation?
I would say road, because those are the games that really bring your team together, and those are the games who you can see who's on the ship and who's not, who's going to step up and who's not on those road games. And especially for the freshmen to have big games like that, just even going back to your question about feeling good about the team, I feel real good about the freshmen, if anything. More so the upperclassmen, it's kind of bad to feel that way because they're getting ready to leave, like guys like Bertrand and Iki.
You about the freshmen, are you Nunn and Hill, or are you talking
Probably
about the whole class?
I would say mainly just those two, because those are the main ones really stepping up, and especially for Nunn. I mean, he just playing real good the last few games. So this is just going to be good to carry over. I feel real good about the freshmen. If you want to be in Gross' point of view about it.
Yeah, Torrance makes a good point there with road wins building momentum. But I got to tell you, when you're playing at a place like State Farm Center, when the crowd's all behind you, and no matter your record, in which this case this year Illinois isn't that great. I mean, I just remember, when people came back from winter break, the team wasn't that great. The house was packed, and it was like a Big Ten tournament game in there when the team starts coming back. And so I think you can build a lot more momentum when you have 16,000 people behind you in a place like State Farm Center.
Really quick too, from that, they beat Mizzou on the road. In St. Louis. Came back the next day was Indiana. Indiana was sold out. And that was their
next game was UIC, and at that point they were ranked, weren't they? They were 23rd.
No, they get ranked.
They got ranked after that,
I believe. But after those big wins, then they
winning builds momentum. I think is the consensus there.
Touche.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not a risk of losing momentum.
No, I know what you mean. But you're saying it's easier to build momentum if you get a couple at home and you start feeling good about yourself and go on the road.
Yeah. Like Nebraska's a team that, right? Well, now they're just really hot in general. Mm-hmm. They got a bunch of wins at home together, and that's when they started saying, okay, well, we have a chance against anybody at our house. That's when that
easier to build at home, and I think better if you go on the road.
Well, now that we got that sorted.
It's kind of what it's looking like.
Let's go to this Wednesday. Illinois has got to take on Nebraska. That's at the State Farm Center Wednesday night. You know, Nebraska beat Illinois up a little bit this last time these teams met, and some guy, James Shields, I believe, or James Shields.
Siobhan Shields.
Siobhan Shields. I'm talking about the pitcher from the Royals, James Shields.
Or Sam Shields, the defensive back for the Packers.
Sam Shields. Okay. I've got a bunch of Shields here, but
Siobhan.
Either way, some guy named Shields got no business scoring 33 points. Scored 33 points against Illinois this last time in Nebraska roll, and it was a game. Hey, again, I'll admit the one or two mistakes I made. I said Illinois was going to win that game, and they did not. How you feeling about this game now? We talked about feeling kind of good about the line. Are you guys still feeling good?
Hopefully, if Shields don't have another breakout performance, but another guy they got to watch out for is Terran Pettaway, too. He's the guy who pretty much carried the team on his back when they defeated Michigan State. He's a real great scorer, one of the top 5 in the Big Ten. But hopefully that road game that they won, hopefully it carries over. It kind of brings the team more together. So I'm going to say hopefully Illinois wins this game. Going to pick them.
Yeah, I think you look at Nebraska, it's interesting right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak. So they're hot. They're the hottest team in the Big Ten, which places them 6th, by the way. It's good enough for 6th.
You get 5 in a row. You get
but Illinois is playing at home, playing with a lot on the line, and I think they're starting to get their identity together somewhat with the new lineup. I think it kind of took some time to adjust that. I think you got to think you have a really good chance this week if you're Illinois. Nebraska is obviously very confident, and maybe to the point where they start taking an opponent like Illinois a little lightly.
Right.
And I think that's when
because
Illinois,
they're not number 10 or 11 now, place number 10 or 11. Now they think we're
we're a tier
6 or
above.
5. Yeah, exactly. How do you feel?
I think Illinois has a chance. I don't know if they'll come out on top.
Everybody's got a chance.
Yeah, I know.
Give us
Sorry.
come on now. Yeah.
No, it's just I think if Nebraska plays the way they've been playing, and we saw it when Illinois played Iowa at State Farm Center, and when Illinois went down a bunch of points in the beginning, it was dead silent in there. And so if there's a case like that where you lose the crowd that early, I think Illinois is going to be in trouble. But I think Nebraska will probably come out on top. But I think the one thing to look for, when you ask what's to say to the team, I don't know necessarily going forward if it's wins and losses, but I just think the main thing you want to see is just kind of this idea of just optimism, just with guys like Hill and Nunn finally cracking that starting lineup, which I think fans have clamored for a lot since the beginning of the year, just to kind of see new faces and what direction the team's going. So I don't think they'll come out on top this week, but I think you can take a little piece out of it just looking at the continued play of guys like Nunn and Hill.
Follow along on Twitter with us. That's at Illini Drive. Have a chance to have your tweet read on the air a little bit later on in the show. We're going to go for official prediction. You're going with Nebraska?
Yes.
For this game? Torrance, where are you going?
I'm going ILL.
All right, he's going to Illinois.
I'm going INI.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That was adorable.
I really... they didn't even plan that. Look at that. I don't want to fall into the hype because it's been a week, and the last thing I remember is them winning pretty impressively. You hear about Kendrick Nunn again this morning, and I feel like if this game was, let's say it was a Wednesday and this was a Saturday, I would have picked Nebraska. Now I'm thinking and leaning toward Illinois, but everything tells me that, Jamal, you're being fooled here. Stop.
I'm picking this as an upset, by the way.
Yes,
I'm not.
right.
I'm not like, Illinois got it together now. I think
it'd be an upset, and I sense that could happen. I'm gonna pick Nebraska.
Okay.
But I don't feel very confident about that. I think Illinois, like you said, is starting to put things together. They haven't got it all figured out yet, but they're putting some things together. I'm not really high on Nebraska. They've won 5 in a row. They're playing a lot better, but not that high on them. I think they can pick I'm not. I don't know. I almost switched here. There we go. I'm going to take Nebraska. I'm less high on Illinois than I am on Nebraska. Lower. There we go. Still a lot to get to here in the show on the Illini Drive. We're going to go on a 3-point play. Haven't been a 3-point play in a while, but Kendrick Nunn's making 3-pointers, so we're going to go for a 3-point play when we get back from commercial break. And we got a fun game to play. That a Jamal Collier original that I thought of. I don't know if it's original because I'm pretty sure it's probably been done before, but We got a game we're going to play a little later on here. It's the Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1.
Hey guys, this is Erin Andrews, and you're listening to WPGU 107.1.
Hockey, I actually woke up for that Team USA game against Canada on Friday and went out to a bar to watch it and was very disappointed. Anybody else share the same as me, or you guys aren't big hockey?
I was headed to Chicago while that was happening.
Right.
I was watching on my friend's phone, and I saw that we were losing.
Yeah.
And then when we got to the hotel was the last minutes of the game, and
Yeah, real stinker.
yeah,
Not
That's
fun.
pretty disappointing. I think what's more disappointing, actually, even though that's a big loss for Team USA against Canada, was the next day against Finland, just getting shellacked 5-0.
not getting a medal. That's,
Yeah.
I didn't watch that game because, and maybe it's kind of how the team felt too. I was kind of like, well, I'm going to go. Who cares?
yeah, yeah.
And I would have sensed they're probably better than Finland. I mean, they're
I would
definitely
think so.
Yeah, so I would sense that it was kind of just a huge disappointment, letdown. It was kind of like, and of course, they're athletes. They're out there trying. I'm not saying they're not,
Right.
but you know.
I actually really enjoyed watching the women's game.
Yes.
The previous day, I think it was,
And I missed most of it until the when they lost.
Yeah,
I saw like the game wasn't going.
yeah. I also tuned in when it was 2-0,
Yeah.
and
Oh, did you? Okay. See, when I heard they tied it 2-2 because I was out all day, and then saw the end of it, and they lose a come from ahead loss for them. Just a really couple kicks in the gut there. That
yeah.
The USA's not used to having ever.
Yeah, one of the analysts, I can't remember her name, who used to be on the team, was really like emotionally shooken up in the post game analysis. It was tough to see just so much of that USA Canada rivalry in hockey. It's amplified, I think, in women's because they are the two premier women's programs.
And you talk about, for NHL, okay, we go back to our teams and we're playing for a championship. Women's hockey, that was your shot. That's what you're waiting for 4 years.
Right.
You may not get another shot.
Yeah.
Some won't. So, on a lighter note, also here on the University of Illinois campus, Ellen DeGeneres was here. She wasn't here. There was a live cast of her show. I don't even know really how to explain that.
A satellite.
Feed, and
remote feed.
you had a bunch of students. We're gonna tweet a picture out from the Illini Drive account too, if we can get that. Just of the mass of people on the University of Illinois quad that came out for the Ellen DeGeneres show, essentially dressed in Halloween costumes. They tweeted about the Ellen DeGeneres account. Tweeted about. They started at 3. She tweeted about 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Hey, if you got a Halloween costume or your favorite movie character costume, to come dressed up in that. This is 2 hours before. I was stunned by how many people had Halloween movie character costumes on tap, ready to go.
It's not even like the Halloween semester. You brought your costume home.
So October has been 3 months since Halloween.
Yeah.
I ran into a friend of mine there, and they said they went to Ragstock literally like the second the tweet came out, bought all like the Cinderella princess gear, and trotted out there.
I was stunned. I knew Ellen DeGeneres was a big deal, and I heard about it, and I say, oh, that's really cool. Cool that that's happening here. Not my cup of tea. I'm not interested in going out and sitting in the cold to see Ellen, even if she was here. No, that's nice. I was stunned at the reaction of people that I follow on Twitter, or people I came across in the street. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was going to see Ellen.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that Ellen was that big.
Nor did I.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a sports fan. I think sports are a big deal.
So it shows what we know.
Ellen DeGeneres had more people gathered on the quad than I think the football team got in block I all season.
Ouch. And that
They
is,
did tweet a picture of that. They had the picture of the crowd on the quad next
Did
to
they?
the day against Northwestern.
Oh, no,
They did?
Block I was missing the top half of the
Oh
eye.
man, that's crazy.
and that's not a stretch. I'm sure that's more people there. It almost. Is Oprah still on every week? Again, this shows you how out of touch I am with the outside world.
You're not out in touch with daytime television.
Yeah,
I don't
there
think
you go.
really
I'm
sweat
doing
it too
things
much.
during the day. I'm getting ready for my show. I can't be watching daytime television. But I was. It almost as if someone said Oprah's going to be here. In her heyday.
I mean,
And I didn't know Ellen had reached that level yet.
I didn't either. I thought she was just like this funny person.
Yeah,
But
she's
like,
funny. Kind of quirky. She got her kind of niche audience.
Yeah.
But there were people that I see have only tweeted about Illinois basketball being upset, when they're not winning or something like that. We're oh my God, Ellen's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
stunned.
I got pushed by a few people actually walking
You're trying to
towards
go
the quad.
somewhere,
It was crazy, man.
diehard degenerates. Can we call them degenerates? They're for fans. If not, Ellen and marketing team, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. You're in town probably. So, degenerates. If you've not thought of that already, go ahead and contact me, Jamal Collier. It's easy to find me. And we can work something out. I'm going to trademark that after the show too.
And I think no one knew what was going to happen either.
No,
Like,
exactly.
they said, there's this big thing you're not going to want to miss on the quad.
Right. If they'd
And
have
she goes
said
to
we
the
may give away
Oscars.
cars, I don't know, or
Yeah.
something,
Give her a car?
Yeah, like that's another.
I don't know.
That's another
They
thing.
said
It's
that.
like, it's like Tim Beckman can be like, "Hey, come out here. A football game's going to happen. You're going to be able to watch something.
Yeah.
Something is going to occur in front of you, like displayed, versus what was apparently
She
just a bunch of people gathering and
Yeah.
Movie costumes that you may have a chance to get flown out to the show next week.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
person got flown out, and I think a couple others won money. But it'll air on Wednesday, so we'll see what
So we're not
happens.
sure. Okay, I'd have been fun if she just said, "Oh, look, I got those people to come out and just like film the iPhone videos." All right,
thanks.
see ya. Thanks.
I'm Ellen DeGeneres. Good night.
Exactly.
I heard
The degenerates would love it.
I think my roommate told me they had free wing and out coupons or something like that.
That could
Man, I
have
would've
got,
been-
that
yeah.
could have got me there.
That was, yeah.
They missed out on a degenerate possible. I'm in love with that. We're going to go the 3-point play here, guys. Haven't done this in a while. It's where we do a national question, a Big Ten question, and a Illini question, surveying the landscape of college athletics. The national question, I'm sure you have seen the Duke versus Syracuse game and the controversial charge block call that ended that game. We're a few credits shy of our refereeing degrees, so we're not even
Just a
going to
few.
get into what's a charge or what's a block, because I don't think anyone really knows. It seems like none of
Yeah.
the refs even know. They just kind of sure.
That one felt charged.
Yeah, that one exactly. He felt a little aggressive there. Gonna get the charge. So, but Jim Boeheim, we know about rants. We know about coaches getting upset and going crazy. My first question for that is, you think he was over the top or justified in that? Quickly.
I think he was over the top. I think bad calls get made a lot, and that one was questionable. It wasn't bad; it was questionable. It was kind of I don't know.
Sure.
But you gotta kind of keep your composure, especially when you're trying to win the game. And they were only down by 2 at that
Yeah.
point,
They were
right?
That's
with
awesome.
10 seconds ish, I believe, to go.
10.4 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tough break, but you got to keep it together.
overtime.
Yeah, I feel the same way. He definitely overreacted, but at the same time, man, that's a big game, man.
That's a big
Syracuse
call.
and Duke,
It's a big call, too,
That's
yeah.
a huge rivalry, and it's funny because it was the same controversial call made the last time they played when it was in Syracuse when they played there. So it's kind of it was pretty funny, for the most part, but. I mean, it kind of got to suck if you from New York, you wanted, Syracuse to win.
Yeah, you got to look at a coach like Boeheim and his standards and that you have to look at that. I think he was over the top, but you also have to look at it that he needs to understand the rule of that call. And if you're an NBA fan and you're watching a game, that clearly looks like a charge to you. In the college game, they've changed the rule this year where if the defensive player, is still moving while the offensive guy goes up in the air, if he's already in the air and you're a defensive player not in position yet, it's going to be a blocking foul. And so you got to make sure you understand the rules if you're Boeheim there.
Yeah, they also did a poll too on ESPN on what did you guys think of the call, and I think majority of them said it was a block actually.
Can I just say, Jim Boeheim has been coaching for how many decades? Like,
A lot.
he understands what a charge is and what a block is.
Well, maybe that's why he was mad. 'Cause he said, well, that's clearly
right.
They changed the rules.
So
it's
I
just
mean,
something to look
yeah,
at.
but
still, yeah.
I think the point he's trying to make is regardless, it sort of transcends a rule change. Like, he's seen a charge, he's seen blocks, he knows what they are, and if that's what the rule says, the rule is wrong.
Yeah.
I think
And you kind of brought this question out. I'll give you credit for it. When you guys get questions, I'll give you credit. You guys think I'm just this bad guy here, but you said, well, can a team rally around that? If Boeheim is going crazy, gets ejected, he never gets ejected, never has this happen.
They said that was the second time in his whole career.
Exactly.
That's
Like we
crazy.
said, it goes for some decades. So can a team in baseball, you'll see managers go out there, and when the team's in a funk or losing or so, they'll go out there and they'll make a big deal out of something that's going to get thrown out of the game. Do you think the basketball team, can that work in basketball?
It can't really work as well because in baseball you're not losing points when your manager gets ejected, and so in this case you're sending guys to the line for free throws with technical fouls, and in the case of this game, it put Duke on top much more than they should have when they won the game.
Yeah, I think they ruled it a double technical call, too, and they made 3 out of 4 of their free throws, and it was only down by 2, so they possibly could have still won the game if he didn't lash out like that.
Yeah, I think it can work in basketball, but it has to be in the right time and place in the game, and I don't think it was in this case.
Yeah, obviously can't rally him when it's 10 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if say Syracuse, and they've lost 2 in a row now, but say they lost a couple games in a row and he does it midway through the first half, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, it could work. Well, it works in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see your coaches getting mad and fired up. Same with football. You see your coaches out there getting mad and fired up.
But, I mean, if you see them getting fired up in something that you can't do anything about, it's just kind of like, well, man, we really pissed off Coach Boeheim.
Yeah, we're making Boeheim upset. So, that's true. Big Ten question. Michigan. Right now in position, they beat Michigan State. Look like they're in position almost certainly to win the Big Ten regular season championship. I want to ask you guys, you think it is a lock right now they can give it to Michigan to win the championship? Their opponents, they've got Purdue, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana. All winnable games. What do you guys think?
I think that you have to say that they're certainly the favorite. They should win. It depends on how they approach it, I think. They just went through a murderer's row, one that Illinois fans cowered away from earlier in the season, facing Iowa, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, back to back to back to back. And now you go from that to, Purdue, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, all those teams that we find on the bottom half of the Big Ten. They should win out. And it really depends on their maturity as a team. If they're mature enough to focus in and really, and I think they have matured throughout the season. They suffered some early losses to some good teams, but I think they've gotten better as a unit and they're more mature, and I think they'll be able to carry it home.
Yeah, and I think beginning of the season, I think Michigan State was the favorites, but Michigan definitely pretty much stepped their game up. And looking at the last 4 games, only the 2 of the toughest teams, maybe Indiana and Minnesota, and yet Michigan is actually hosting those teams. So I'm quite sure they're going to go 4-0 throughout that stretch and claim the title.
And Michigan has the tiebreaker against Michigan State, right, in a couple of those.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think they're only a half game up, I believe, on Michigan State now. I have to check that. But, they do it on the tab.
Yeah, so I think because of the nature of that and just the nature of they've been playing, I think they come out on top with the Big Ten title. The last 4 games aren't really looking too tough for them, especially, maybe even coming in here. I mean, that should be probably an easy win at State Farm Center.
Real quick then, Michigan, best team in the Big Ten, yay, nay?
Huh.
Word or less?
Word or less?
Yeah.
Nay.
1 word or less, nay?
Yay.
And
that's what
I think that was actually less than a word. You pulled off the less. I think they're going to win the regular season title, but my money's still right with Michigan State.
I agree.
So that's how I feel about that. Illini question. This is where we're going to play another. We're playing a 3-point play, which is a game. We're playing a game within the game right now. It's pretty first time ever, I think I may say, here on this show. This game we're calling it overrated, underrated, and I guess properly rated. I was going with just rate it.
No, I like that.
Just rate it. Overrated,
underrated,
rated. Normally rated.
Not
However
PG,
you want to call it.
Not PG, not R, just rated.
No, just they're rated.
Okay.
And this is a game. I just came up with it before the show in the pre-show meeting, and what we're going to do is give us 3 Illinois basketball players, and you got to put them into those categories where you put them in. One of them's got to be overrated, one's got to be underrated, one's got to be rated. So we're going to do this, guys. You guys excited for this? Ready? I'm excited to go. Our first set of 3. Joe Bertrand, Kendrick Nunn, Nana Egwu. Overrated, underrated, rated. Go. Torrance, like you're ready.
Are we doing just one player each or the whole category?
So put us where you got them all.
Okay, well mine is Kendrick Nunn rated, Bertrand overrated, Nana Egwu underrated. And I was battling between Egwu and Bertrand as far as overrated because throughout the season, I was real disappointed with Egwu's play, especially from a physical standpoint. But Bertrand been there for, 5 years? He's been almost forever, played with just about everybody in Illinois with the BP3 era, the DJ era. And we expected so much from him this season. And him just having just these fallout games is just totally unacceptable. And he having, freshmen having bigger games than him and pretty much taking his spot. And he pretty much claimed his spot all year. But I mean, it's just bad seeing where he's going now, and then he's going to finish his career like that. We really didn't know what to expect from him. I mean, you heard a couple good things about him in the beginning of the season, but he had, a couple bonehead plays, but within the last few games, especially road games, he's definitely been stepping it up. So I think he's kind of in a neutral era right now. Especially, you can't really say so much about a freshman anyway coming in. You got to kind of see him progress. So that's my picks.
I'd have to go with Bertrand as overrated, Nunn underrated, and Nana as correctly rated.
Okay.
Is that the same thing you had?
No, we switched the Egu and Nunn was a switch.
Yeah. So Bertrand, I'd have to agree with Torrance just because he's the senior on the team, and he sparks you a couple times, especially with those random 20-point games. But I just feel like his overall game just hasn't really progressed. Right. And with a new coach like Gross the past 2 years, you would think he'd be able to develop a little more, especially maybe in the shooting category, just kind of getting a better form there that he just hasn't done. With Kendrick Nunn, underrated, just because he's a freshman, didn't know much about him, and so I really think he's stepped to the plate. I know, like, going back when he was in high school, you go to Simi and you watch Jabari Parker, right, but you really see this other kid, this lefty, that's scoring a bunch of points, dual threat player in Kendrick Nunn, which I think he's been able to duplicate on the college level. And with Nana Egu, I think he's correctly rated. I don't think people are too high or too low on him. He's kind of been...
really?
What?
You don't think people are too high?
Well, people range in...
No, just go ahead. Defend yourself. Go ahead.
Well, the people range in their preferences on him, but I feel like he's correctly rated in the fact that he's not too high, not too low, just he's kind of an inconsistent kind of player that you can count on occasionally, but...
When he's consistent.
Yeah, but not much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with something different than you guys.
Okay.
I think Joseph Bertrand is underrated.
Okay.
I think Kendrick Nunn is overrated.
Okay.
I think Nana Egu is rated.
Yeah.
Bertrand, just because, I think right now he's not playing well, but I think that's a misuse. I think he's being misused. I think he's not, playing to the fullest capabilities because the system around him isn't benefiting him. So I think he's proven that he's not the spark off the bench that he was last year. Maybe you should try and find a way to put him in the starting lineup, because it seems like he's more comfortable as the fifth-year senior. He's more comfortable being the starter. Mm-hmm. Kendrick Nunn, like I mentioned earlier, 0 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 0 blocks. He's only scoring.
If you listen to everybody about Kendrick Nunn, he's the second coming.
Right. Yeah, he's Brandon Paul reincarnate. But I think right now, I think he can get to the point where we're touting him at right now, but he needs to improve on other aspects of his game. He's getting good defensive, steals numbers. He's made a lot of good plays in that regard, but a lot of that comes from over-aggression, and that can cost you more than it can help you. So him becoming more well-rounded. And then Egu is the only player of these guys who's been all three, overrated, underrated, rated at different points in the season.
The hardest one.
I think it just balances out with him.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you as far as Kendrick Nunn, and I went over for him just because he's not. Everyone loves him, and he's given us some. We see what he can be, but you hear people talk about him. He's not that yet because he still makes a lot of mistakes. So when I talk about 13 points a game, he's also had some games in the starting stretch, at least, where he's kind of been Nebraska was one of them, So, yeah, he's not there yet. I think he's going to get there, definitely. I think he'll be, really one of the key pieces of this team. But right now, overrated. I went underrated for Nana Egu just because people kill Nana Egu, and he doesn't do a lot of things that necessarily fill up a stat sheet. And he's not that kind of player, but he changed a lot of shots on defense. He's really their only defensive presence there. Really? He can get you some rebounds. He can make some shots when he's been doing as of lately. So he just does a lot of little things for you that, again, they don't show up in the stats sheet. You didn't see the game. You look at what Nana Egu did, you say, oh, God, he was terrible. But, we kind of needed him to do the things that he did, and somebody else needs to score.
Yeah, but meanwhile, the guys that he's going up against are filling up the stat sheet.
Right.
That's a concern.
And and I think there's a little bit of also it's just kind of him out there as far as in the lane. They don't really have any help for him. And I went Joe Bertrand is rated, in the sense that and I talked about this I think maybe last week. I never saw it when everyone kind of said Bertrand will be the 20-point, he'll be the Brandon now. I said that that would be completely different than everything he's done for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So, or whatever, 3 years. So I guess that means that in everyone's eyes he was overrated, but to me, I saw him pretty much being this. He's got to be more productive than he is right now. And he's just kind of going through a bad stretch. But, he's going to score about 10 points a game. And some days he'll have a day where you're like, oh, Joe Bertrand was everywhere. Some days like, did Joe play?
Yeah.
And that's kind of just what he is. So I think we all went a little different there, as far as things.
That's
some
good.
different combos here.
Nice little game.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're going to play again. We got a second round here. And this one here, and I'm thinking about it, man.
The Daily Double.
This is hard. These next set of three here. Overrated, underrated, properly rated. How about John Eakey, Tracy Abrams, Rayvonte Rice? Whew, I came up with
That
this
was
one.
tough.
And this is a hard one. Elliot, we'll let you lead this one off, I guess.
Okay. We go Rayvonte Rice, overrated.
Okay.
Tracy Abrams, rated.
Okay.
John Eakey, underrated. And I know it's hard to sell John Eakey as underrated at this point.
Yeah.
But I think if really, he's sort of got the same argument going for him as Bertrand does. I think he's underused. Now, he's not supposed to be a 4. He's not supposed to be the guy that you rely on to be big down low. He's someone who you want to stretch the floor, certainly, but you can do that as a 3 if you're getting open looks and shooting open threes. That's where he's the best. And then you get him hot from 3, and he can pump fake and drive, and he can dunk on you if you're not looking. So, yeah, I think he's been misused. Rayvonte Rice, I think, is overrated simply because we look to him as someone like, oh, we need to get Rayvonte Rice the ball, otherwise we won't score enough. But Rice actually, in the game against Iowa, when they made that...
This one took 27. No, that's a comeback. No, go ahead.
They made that huge comeback. He came back in, and the offense got really stagnant.
Yeah. Sometimes the ball dies when he gets in his hands.
Yeah, he's got too much Josh Smith in him where he actually makes your possessions negative possessions by holding the ball and taking a bad shot. Tracy Abrams, I think, is rated, and that's only assuming that people aren't very high on him. He's just sort of a serviceable backup point guard type.
Go ahead.
I think Tracy's a serviceable backup point guard type who is starting and shouldn't be. But
we have one more commercial break to take here, so I'm going to cut you guys off. We still got to get you guys' answers here on overrated, underrated here. But also, I wanted to tell you, Elliot's boy Clay Matthews has the Gillette commercial, and when he gets his beard shaved off, whatever he's doing, the music plays in the background. That's Fantagram. Am I saying that right?
Fantagram, yes.
Fantagram, and they're going to be at the Virginia Theater Wednesday, April 9th, 7:30 p.m. Fantagram is going to be at the theater. Student tickets, if you're a student at the U of I, or the student, I guess, period, $18 to the first 500 student tickets sold. You can go to thevirginia.org to go get those tickets, or by phone. That's 217-356-9063. Again, thevirginia.org, or by phone at 217-356-9063. To go and get those tickets. They're on sale now for Wednesday, April the 9th at 7:30. We're going to take a commercial break quickly here, and we're going to come back to keep playing this game. This is Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1.
This is Clark Kellogg of CBS Sports, and you are listening to the Illini Drive. Enjoy.
Playing overrated, underrated, rated, properly rated, but we're going to call it rated. Here, 3 Illini players. You got to put them into categories of those 3. And Torrance going to go John Eakey, Tracy Abrams, and Rayvonte Rice.
Man, this was tough. Mine is a little bit similar to Elliot's, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit at the end. Eakey was my underrated pick. Just, once again, I mean, he's a senior as well, and he was real good at the beginning of the year, but, his game is not this physical guy going out there banging people down low and getting buckets. He's more of a shooter. He's people compared him a lot to Griffey at the beginning of the year, and his game is just not being physical in the Big Ten. He's more of a positive player when he shoots the ball and stretches the floor. Abrams, I said overrated was tough between that and Ray Rice, but I probably say Abrams overrated because he's the starting point guard on the team, one of the most important positions, and he's just not playing as good as he should be playing. I mean, it was a point in time in which Tate was taking majority of the minutes over him, and he's been on this team. He knows the system, and he just really haven't been playing as good as people want him to play. Some games he even been scoreless. And Ray Rice, I say rated because he's kind of neutral, because some games you expect him to be big. You give him the ball at the end of the game, and he doesn't convert. But at the same time, majority of the wins has been because of him. So you kind of got to thank him for that too. And I mean, you don't really know what to expect because he had high hopes, but I mean, at the same time, he transferred from Drake. You kind of didn't know what exactly he was going to give you. So I guess in a sense he balances out, in my opinion.
For mine, I went with, and this was tough for me too, John Eakey is overrated, Tracy Abrams is rated, and Rayvonte Rice is underrated. For Eakey,
Underrated for Rayvonte.
Ray Rice.
I'll get there.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm still torn in that one, but I
Okay.
can go two different directions. Okay. So Eakey I have over, because once Big Ten really got in full swing, you kind of lost him in the shuffle there, and he really wasn't playing as well as he could have and probably should have been. And I think just he's a very specialized kind of player, and once you had big-time players come in the Big Ten, he kind of quieted him. Looking at Abrams, I'm going to use the same defense I did for Nana Egwu. I put him as rated just because they're very bit inconsistent. They are what they are, so it's just their rating fits them. For Rayvonte Rice, I put underrated, even though I kind of feel overrated as well.
Yeah.
So I'll put Rayvonte Rice overrated in terms of certain aspects on the floor, because coming from Drake, like you said, you didn't know what to expect, but a lot of people looked at him as kind of the savior of the season, but he's really not been able to do that. And so under, just because of that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll struggle with this. I'm going to have to go with Ray as overrated, just because, like we talked about, the ball dies sometimes with him, which means I got to put Tracy as properly rated. He kind of is what he is. Which means I got to go with Eakey as underrated, which I don't want to do. So
That's your boy.
And the reason I like John Nicky, and I was really high on him, as a matter of fact, because he was making the threes, and I thought he was going to be a nice scoring threat, and then kind of he's not been. So it's a fun game. We're going to do that again.
The only players that didn't get all three were Nana Egwu was not overrated by any of us.
Wow.
And Tracy Abrams was not underrated by any of us.
Okay, yeah, it's Tracy.
Makes sense.
So that much we learned.
Yeah. Fun game. We're going to do that again. Overrated, underrated, rated. We're going to go to a quick badass of the week here. Run out of time, so no intro. Go ahead and give us a quick rundown of who you got.
I'm going to go with a couple of sprinters. Jadeveon Clowney, who's a defensive end, they're not supposed to be sprinters. He ran a 4.53 40 at the scouting
You better have a
combine.
spare pair of pants if you're coming against him every day, and you got to be the quarterback.
Just for some context, Percy Harvin runs a 4.41, or he did in the combine when he tried out. And then another guy, Dry Archer, DRI Archer, from Kent State, ran a 4.26, which is
Ridiculous.
0.02 200ths of a second off the record, set by
Ridiculous.
Chris Johnson.
Go.
I picked Jamal Crawford for the Clippers, and that was just an amazing game. I had the chance to watch on ABC yesterday between Oklahoma City Thunder and the Clippers, and Jamal Crawford put up 36 points, and Durant also had 42 and 10, if I'm not mistaken, but they lost the game. And I mean, if you're a fan watching at home, I mean, that was probably one of the best Western Conference games I've seen all season. So I'll give it to Jay Crawford.
Real quick, mind-blowing fact about that: Crawford actually leads the NBA in points per game in the fourth quarter.
Wow. For my badass, I'm going to have to go with Kevin Groh. He's the high schooler with Down syndrome and had a spectacular performance in his high school game. He's been the manager for the team. Coach let him play in the final game and went off from three. And then the 76ers gave him a 2-day contract a little while back, gave him the full team experience, practice, warm-ups, meet and greet. So it was just a cool moment for him, and so that's my badass.
And quickly, a shout out to former Illini Asia Evans. The transfer won the bronze medal over in the Olympics, and so she's our badass from me. Fun show today. Again, you can check that on UPTV at 7 p.m. It should be at 9 p.m. on Wednesday night. 7 p.m. now. I get a little confused. 9 p.m. on UPTV. You can check the show out. Again, follow us on Twitter. We'll catch you again next week, the same time at 6 p.m. That's the Illini Drive. Now back to WPGU 107.1.